What is the latest you were hearing about the severity of the injury to Kevin Durant?
Well, Ramona Shelburne and I are told that the Warriors believe that the MRI today will confirm a tear of Kevin Durant's right Achilles. You know, they're essentially just waiting on the severity of this injury, but this is in all likelihood going to be a significant injury that's going to keep him out for a long period of time, perhaps even next season if this is a complete tear.
You know, the emotion from Bob Myers there was striking, I think, to so many people, and you're so close and plugged into all of this. What did you make of that emotion? What should a fan take from that? What did it mean?
Well, I think, number one, just the rawness of having been in the locker room with Kevin Durant, to see a player at the very top of his craft, at the top of his career, at the apex, be facing what is going to be perhaps a career-altering injury. And certainly, you know, Bob Myers knows what it took for Kevin Durant to come back and play for them, the sacrifice he's made for that organization. You know, he saved them over $72 million the last 2 years by taking a discount there, allowing them to keep Andre Iguodala, allowing them to keep Sean Livingston. And I think, you know, Bob Myers in that moment felt he needed to be the face of that organization. He needed to go out and be accountable. Like he said, if there's blame, put it on me. And to perhaps, you know, keep that from Steve Kerr right now, try to keep that from these Golden State players who are still playing in these finals.
And so, Woj, obviously there are so many different directions this thing leads us, and one of them is, as everyone knows, the fact that Kevin Durant could be a free agent during this offseason. How does all of this affect all of that? Well,
listen, there was only one team who was going to get Kevin Durant. There were a lot of teams jockeying to be in position to do that. Both teams in New York, the Clippers, and obviously the Warriors, who wanted to keep him. So while it is impactful, there were other teams who were going to get left out in this free agency. And listen, Kevin Durant could have always stayed in Golden State. He may still stay in Golden State. But I still think if Kevin Durant opts out of his contract, I would be surprised if there still isn't a long-term deal available for him almost anywhere he'd want. But this is something teams are going to have to evaluate. We don't know yet exactly the severity of the injury. But to say that Kevin Durant's not going to have options going forward, he is. And he's going to have great options. But whoever signs him, whether he stays with the Warriors or goes elsewhere, they're obviously going to have some patience before he's going to be able to play for them again and perhaps play at a high level again.
All right, Woj, well done. Thank you so much. And Bobby Marks will join us a little later, our front office insider, with an idea of how other NBA executives might look at this. Now I want to bring Jay Williams into the conversation, who's live in Toronto. And Jay, you were in the building, and I know how close you are to KD. You spent time with him yesterday. What can you tell us about his state of mind right now after what was obviously a devastating night?
He's hurt, Greeny. You know, he's just not hurt physically, but hurt emotionally. I was in the room with him last night, and we were watching a game, and the density within the air of the room made it challenging to breathe. You know, I think for a regular player, it would be so difficult to compartmentalize what just happened on that grand of a stage. But the guy who Kevin is last night, he watched the last 5 minutes of the ball game, rooting on his teammates, getting FaceTime by Draymond afterwards about this going back to the Bay Area and for them to win it. But I think overall, Greeny, it was, you know, you rush to get back on a grand stage like that. And for that to happen, he was distraught. He was distraught, just like any other human being would be distraught.
You know, we mentioned that there will be an MRI today that will confirm what the Warriors suspect. What did KD say about the injury? What did he tell you he felt? What did he tell you his expectation is?
Well, I think they're going to go back to New York, and he has a foot specialist that he's going to see there to get, you know, a second confirmation of what's going on. But I will say this, Greeny, it brings up a different point from the outside looking in, and it's just challenging the status quo here. And there's love between both, you know, Kevin's organization, Kevin's camp, and the Golden State Warriors. There's no maliciousness there at all. But I really think the way that this narrative has been handled, it's been pretty poorly managed. From Kevin's team, right from the beginning of the injury, they were targeting Game 5 for him to come back, Game 5, Game 6. And, you know, whether it was for strategic value, keeping Toronto on their toes. I really think Golden State kind of letting linger out there caused a lot of this chaos for narratives to be ran away with on, is KD really committed to his teammates? Is he only thinking about himself? And even if Joe Lakup's coming out on Stephen A. Smith's show and saying that, hey, he will be playing, I think that applies some kind of added on pressure for a guy like that to come back. And look, he wasn't 100%. He wanted to come back. It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. We get this. He was doing 2-a-days and physical therapy. But it almost felt like it was rushed for him to come back. And that's fine the way it happens. But, I don't think fans, it's a great learning opportunity for fans, coaches, franchises, players. We can't fault guys anymore for, them wanting to take care of their own body. We label it, Grinny, as selfish or he's only thinking about himself. Well, this is a prime example is that, here's a guy that loved his teammates, loved his brotherhood, wanted to play for them, came back not feeling 1,000%. And this is the worst case scenario on a big stage. And it was almost having like the same other player out there, Kawhi Leonard, who chose with the San Antonio Spurs that he didn't trust their staff in doing that and chose not to play. And look at the flexibility that he has with Toronto and kind of, having his own autonomy when it comes to his body. Not saying Kevin did not. I'm just saying how the two scenarios kind of played out. It's a lesson for everybody in the game of basketball and the game of sports.